Day 39 of 100 Days of Thankfulness. Today we're talking about the importance of loving yourself and also why I'm so thankful for Jim Jonas. So when I talk about loving yourself, I'm not talking about being all puffed up and full of pride. I'm talking about kind of what I was getting into the last couple of days about how choose words that speak life. And even if you have enough integrity to not gossip about people and not say anything bad about anyone else, some people have a tendency to say bad things about themselves. You know, it could just be as simple as, oh, I'm so fat, or whatever it is. We need to be careful about those words as well. We need to be careful that we're always saying positive things even about ourselves. And the reason is because we do have a lot of worth. We shouldn't get into a state where we're just loathing ourselves. That's not to say that, you know, if we do something wrong, we shouldn't, you know, have a moment where we say, oh, I can do better. But it's really important that we don't get stuck in that state. And so I want to talk a bit about Jim Jonas. Now, Jim Jonas was my therapist for 3 years when I was going through the Depression from 1987 to end of 1989. Depression is basically taking that self-loathing to an extreme where it's this anger that you have, but it's almost directed inwards towards yourself. And you get in this stuck state like I was in. The way out of it, and a huge way that, you know, Jim Jonas had taught me is by loving yourself. Because by loving yourself, you're actually, it makes it possible for you then to love others. It's important for you to love yourself first in order to be able to love others. And similarly, it makes it so that they can love you too, because when you're always, you know, self-loathing like that, you're not that fun to be around. Let's just put it that way. But the other part about it is when you're so focused inward with that anger and that negativity, you can't be that loving towards other people as well. It's almost like when you're in that depressed state, it's a certain form of selfishness, even though it's very negative. You're just so focused on yourself, but you're focused on yourself in a very negative way. So you shouldn't be so focused on yourself all the time. You should also be focused on other people, but in both directions in a very loving way. It's very important to do that. So that's what I had learned from Jim Jonas through the 3 years of therapy. So there, you just got 3 years of therapy for free. How's that? I do have 3 Bible verses that help to, you know, basically, when I was going through the therapy, I was not a Christian. Jim Jonas was not a Christian. So that was purely from a secular perspective, but the Bible does reinforce that. So here's the 3 Bible verses. Jeremiah 29:11, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." So when you're depressed, you feel like you have no future, you have no hope. And then Luke 12:6-7, "Are not 5 sparrows sold for 2 pennies? Yet not one of them is forgotten by God. Indeed, the very hairs of your head are all numbered. Don't be afraid, you are worth more than many sparrows." And then the last one, 1 John 3:1, "See what kind of love the Father has given to us, that we should be called children of God, and so we are. The reason why the world does not know us is that it did not know Him." So, if we're children of God, think about, especially for those of you that have children, you know, think about, you know, how you feel towards your child who maybe doesn't have that much respect for themselves, and you just wish they could see themselves through your own eyes. And even if they are, you know, even if they made a huge mistake, you know, let's say they just, you know, they blew it, you know, they totally disobeyed you, they messed up seriously, and you're angry at them, and they turn around and they're, you know, so, you know, they just feel like, horrible that they did that, and then they feel anger towards themselves. As parents, it's not like we want our children to go beat themselves up. It's not like, we say to them, okay, as a punishment, I want you to go over to that wall and hit your head against it 10 times. Oh no, not that wall. I don't want you to damage that wall. I'll go to that brick wall and do it. We would never do that, right? Unless we're abusive parents, we would never want that. We don't want our children to beat themselves up. In the same way, God doesn't want us to do that either. So that's it for today. I just want to say thanks once more to Jim Jonas.